Mike, what was your relationship with Brunswick Billiards?
Oh, but I had a great relationship with them. The Jim Bakula, when I was younger, he ran the billiard division. Brunswick, what people don't realize, and this is in the 80s, their company, they do billions a year. I think at that time they were doing $8 billion a year. They own Sea Ray boats, Bayliner. They were in defense contracts, pharmaceuticals, but it all started with the Brunswick pool table. So today, Brunswick is a huge name, but the billiard division is a sliver. They just keep it on for like because that's what started the company. They became unbelievable.
But essentially, at one point, you were the face of Brunswick Billiards. I mean, they were taking you to events and expos and plastering your face and your image all over the place.
Yeah,
right?
Well, when I was at the trade show one year, it's maybe early '80s, I saw Jim McCoy. I don't know if he's still alive or not. I think he might have passed away. But the guy that run the billiard division, he was a real nice guy. I saw him at the trade show. So I walked up to him one day. I says, I'd love to take you out to dinner, whatever, schmooze. That's how you get endorsements. I used to go after him. You don't sit there. In my day, there was hardly any endorsements, right? So he was busy, this and that, So the next year, I saw him at the trade show again. I cut into him real quick. In the very beginning, I said, geez, how you doing? I love your tail. I'd like to take you out to dinner. He goes, yeah, okay. So I take him to a Japanese steakhouse. That's exactly, I go, what do you like? We talked about that. So I was talking to him. I said, you got the best table in the world. I go, I would like to endorse this table. I go, you guys, you ever think of getting a player, in there? He goes, no, we never thought of that. So the next day, I saw him in the restaurant at the hotel. I was having breakfast. He walked up to me. He goes, he says, I was thinking about this. He sits down. He goes, I think we'd like to have you, endorse the table. I go, great. So they made me an offer. It wasn't that big, and I got him to come up a little.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't that big, okay? But the other benefits were really great because if in those days, if you bought 20 Brunswicks, that was like the only table anyone ever put in a pool room. Most rooms had like 20 tables, at least. So I would do the grand openings. I did the Boston Billiard Clubs. They had 9 rooms. And then I would do all these events for them. I got paid for that. And then every Christmas, they would always give me that bonus of $5,000. That was pretty nice. So I was with them 5 or 6 years. Then eventually near the end of my career in the early 90s, I retired, quit, and that was it.
Now, was that when you first got with Brunswick? Was that late 70s, 80s, or?
Oh no, that was in the 80s. That was. Let's see. I think actually after Color of Money.
Okay.
Because they were instrumental in helping me get nominated into the Hall of Fame. He called me up. The only reason I was not in the Hall of Fame younger than 35 is in those days the rule was you had to have competed for at least 15 years. That was one of the criterias. And I didn't do it. He told me I might have got in 2 or 3 years earlier.
Yeah.
So that was a big honor for me.
Just to clarify, you do believe that the Brunswick Gold Crown is the best playing table ever?
It's not even close.
Forget about it, right?
Yeah, that table, the thing is, not only is the rebound, perfect, but the other thing is when you're playing your best, the pocket is 4.5, 5-inch, whatever it is. But when you hit it on a Brunswick, a perfect hit in the pocket, it makes this cracking sound that no other table can do.
I would imagine you've had some amazing gold crowns over the years, right? To say the least.
I sold one of my tables for a lot of money.
I always thought those black ones were kind of sexy. You don't see them real often. The black gold crown.
Yeah, gold crown.
I don't know what model that was or whatever. Because now, when you first got with them, would that have been the originals, or would that have been like the gold crown 1s or 2s or 3s?
I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
When I was with them, they flew me in a private jet to French Lick, Indiana.
Okay.
And Larry Bird went by his house. He
of
had
course
a
you knew that.
okay. There. And Kimball Piano actually made the Brunswicks then. I went in there. You should have seen the square footage they had. They had pianos and pool tables, thousands of them, lined up on shelves. In fact, it reminds me of a very funny story. Now, you're going to love this. So around. So anyway, I went to the plant. When I joined them, I flew to where their headquarters is, which is near Bristol, Connecticut.
Okay.
That was their headquarters, but the tables were made in French Lick. Took a plane over there, all that, came back. We signed the agreement, the pictures, all that. But listen to what happens. In the year, I don't know what year it was, 90, 91, whatever it is, I finished third or fourth in the world tournament. They had that black Brunswick in New York City, right? They used to have huge events, the World Straight Pool. That no tournaments really, except maybe IPT, competed with the World Straight Pool. They have 1,000 people, balcony. They had celebrities, the tuxedo. They were unbelievable. You wanted to run 800 when you performed in front. And I always played, because who I almost always played. They had 7, 9, and 11. I always played at 9, like Miserak normally and guys like that. The best players, right? So watch what happens. So one year I finished like third or fourth, and I can't remember who was in the finals. Okay, so I'm sitting there with Jim Bakula right in the front, and we're going to, watch the match, right? So the crowd starts getting restless. Something's going on. It's running late. So Jim Bakula says, Mike, and some guy hits a cue or something. He goes, Mike, why don't you go out there and hit some trick shots and, entertain everybody for a little bit. I said, actually, I did have my cue. And when I had my cue in my pouch, I had the 5 and 9. You ever see where the two balls are stuck together?
Mm-hmm.
So I had that in my case. So I didn't want to do trick shots. So anyway, I get up there and I set up 5 balls in the middle of the table, right in a line, right? So I had the microphone. I go, I need a volunteer. I pick some guy, comes up to, I go, what's your name? Whatever, all that. So I set up 5 easy banks, but the 2 balls stuck together are the last 2. So the bank, I go, what's your name? I go, you know what? Let's see if you can make a bank shot. I go, if you do, we're going to do something good for you. So I set up the first bank. The guy hits it. He makes it. Easy bank. Couldn't miss it. Right? Just hit it. I set it up perfect. I go, just hit it, right? The guy was a decent player, right? He's maybe a little nervous. And there's like 800-900 people watching, right? Gets up to the second ball. He misses it. I go, we'll give you that one. Gets up to the third ball. He makes it. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm trying to think of some great prize to give the guy as I'm talking. I go, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Now, the last 2 balls are stuck together. Okay, it's impossible, right? It's a big joke. So I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I go, if you make the next bank shot, I'm going to give you, and I'm looking around, I go, I'm going to give you this pool table. So now you can hear a pin drop. I set it up for the guy. You can hear a pin drop. The guy stroke, hits it 100 miles an hour. What happens? Both balls spin in a big array, hits the cushion, right in the pocket.
Boom!
It goes right in.
Oh, no.
I turn red as a beet.
Oh,
all right?
no.
Everybody's standing up, clapping, screaming, yelling. And Jim Bakula saw I was in a spot. He gets up, walks over to the guy, grabs the microphone. He goes, no, just give us your address, your mailing information, and we'll be more than happy to send the table to you. That's a true story.
That guy won a brand new
He
pool
won
table.
the table they played the World Championship on. That table. Of course, that came out of my pay for the next 5 years, but no. But that's a true story. Can you imagine?
That's a pretty cool story. Now, most of the championships that you won, the world titles and the U.S. Opens, you won those actually with a Joss cue. Is that right?
Joss cue, yeah. Played most of my life with that, yeah.
So you and Danny Janes had a real close, tight-knit relationship, to say the least.
Yeah, at that time, there wasn't a lot of cue makers, you know. So I worked for Danny. That's where I learned how to make cues. I saw I had the skills right away. I'm good with my hands. So then later on, I always knew. I worked for him for about 2 years. Then in 79, I won the World Straight Pool. That's where my career really kind of went up. So I mostly did that, and I quit working. But I knew in the back of my mind, somewhere down the road when I get ready to quit or whatever, I wanted to make cues. and that's exactly what happened.
Did he teach you a lot of stuff one-on-one, behind the scenes?
No, it was more like repetitious, like cut rings. You'd cut like 8 million a day. And then eventually I did all the inlay work. I did all the wrapping and pressing. I did all of the straightening the points. If anybody had a cue from 78 to 79, if you look at the points, on those days we spliced them. Today they use the pantograph, so they come out perfect. But I would balance the points. There's like a trick to it, right? And he showed me how to do it, but I still did it. My points were flawless. If you look at the points, perfect. I wouldn't let it out there if it wasn't like that.
Yeah, so you were with Joss. They sponsored you. You're winning with their cues, and then you actually went in there and started learning how to make
he actually
cues.
never sponsored me.
No?
No, not in those days, no.
Wow.
I just played with it, So that was, let's see. So then, at the end of my career, then I started playing with a Gina cue. So now people are coming up to me for endorsements, it starts opening up. So I said, I'm not going to play with a cue that I'm not getting paid to play with. It's the most visible. Everyone, hey, Mike Sigel, I just want to turn him or something.
Yeah,
what kind
that?
of play?
Right.
What kind of cue you play?
Right. What is that?
So I'm thinking about it, and I go, why would I be promoting something that I'm not getting paid?
Yeah.
When if you think of it, don't forget, I started getting a family. I got to make money. Making money in pool when you're single and young, you live with your parents, you have no bills, travel around the world 50 times. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You soon realize that it's very difficult to maintain money in pool. It's just the way it is.
Let's talk about some of that money that you actually did win. Now, I've heard different statistics. There's a lot of information out there. Okay. The phrase Mr. Finals was coined, of course, after you got on the pro tour, you start winning all these tournaments, or I take that back. Was there even a pro tour when you were winning all these finals, or was it more like an event here, an event there? Can you key into that with us a little bit?
Well, they would have, like, let's say you went to Texas, they'd have 2 or 3 in a row. You go to the Carolinas. I won every tournament in the Carolinas up to a point. They wanted to call me, what's that thing? The Tar Heel. They had the Tar Heel Open.
Now, was it 14 out of 15 major tournaments that you won in a row? There was something.
I won 9 in a row one time.
9 professional tournaments in a row.
From the middle of 86 to 87, I won 9 in a row. So what happened was I first won 3 in a row. They said that was impossible. Earl won 3 in a row. Then I won 3 in a row again. But in the middle of 86 to 87, I won 9 in a row, including the World Tournament at Peter Vitale, 15,000. I think there was an ESPN event. What else was there? I can't even remember now. Oh, the Resorts, where I played Nick Varner.
Yeah.
That one's been on. That's on film. That tournament. The Rack 'em Up Classic, both Renos. They had a December and a June. I won both of them in the same year.
So you are, in fact, undisputed, the most winning professional pool player
it's not
in
even
history.
Close. Yeah, I hear all these stories with this guy and that guy that won hundreds of tournaments, but it's all false.
And you have 10 world championship
10
titles.
world titles.
10 world titles. And that was in straight pool,
9 ball, 8 ball, and, well, when I played Laurie John, that was that. And then also me and Ava won the World Scotch Doubles for Brunswick. Me and Ava played. It was Mizrak and Gene Belukas. They thought they would win. That was one of the greatest shows.
That's tough action, by the way.
It was on ESPN.
I didn't know about that. That's tough action.
It was Hopkins and Laurie John, Rempe and Belinda Bearden.
Okay.
Me and Ava Lawrence and Mizrak and Belukas. We won it, okay? And then that was the greatest show they ever had. That was when I kept yelling, partner. I remember that now. I don't know if they have that footage, because every time Ava would make a shot, I'd go, partner. And I had the flashy tuxedo on then with the. Yeah. I was the one that opened that up. Everybody used to get a rental tuxedo with the strap in the back. It looked cheesy. So I had a company make me a black tuxedo with real silver thread through it. I was with Nick Varner when I put it on, when he was.
Yeah.
The first time he saw it, he goes, everybody's going to need sunglasses when they see this vest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it. So when I played the first time with that vest on ESPN, I had the coat on. You couldn't see it, right? Had the black pants, the whole thing. We lagged for the break, and then I take my coat off, and the announcer, it was like that Lorne Michaels, man, one of them guys. This guy was a big announcer on ESPN when they used to do him. He was like a big sport, and I can't remember the guy's name. He went, look at that vest that Siegel's wearing. I mean, they're commentating. I can hear them. I mean, that thing sparkled, and then everybody started wearing some flashy vest. You know what I mean? No, I think Massey was the first one to copy me. There you go. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have to ask you this, okay? So you're playing professional pool. You're somewhat friendly to a certain degree with these people because you're seeing each other in different states. You're in the same industry, but on the same token, you've got to defeat these people that are your friends, that are your acquaintances, that are kind of like family to a certain degree. And here you are, you're winning more than everybody.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what were some of the greatest rivalries that you experienced during your career?
Well, I mean, everybody was naturally jealous. I get that. I'm winning tournaments. And, what happens is they don't like you. I only hung around with a few guys, like maybe Nick Varner, Davenport, Buddy. Earl was like in another world, you know that. And that's about it. You would see these guys, but you don't want them to get like the Godfather. Think how people think around you. So I didn't want them to realize how I thought. So I saw them, but stayed away. Naturally, everybody said that, that Sigel, what an asshole he is. He doesn't, I mean, all that. But because you have to do that. I'm playing these guys day in and day out. So anyway, that happened. And then my toughest opponent in the finals, I'll just think of the finals. Naturally, the only guys I didn't like playing are guys that I know can win the tournament. Guys like Earl, guys like Buddy, guys like Nick, guys like, then the list starts thinning out after that. Those guys I know can win. So all the other guys, of course, you're playing Mizrek, Hopkins, Rempe, this guy, that guy, Reyes, Bustamante, the Europeans, But I wouldn't be afraid of that. But again, guys that I know can win because they can win. There's a difference between playing a guy that can play really good here and there and playing a guy that at the end of the tournament can win the tournament. So my toughest opponent at the end was Buddy Hole. He's the only guy probably that after the match was over, I played really good. He won. I'd walk up to him and say, nice shooting. All the other guys, you lucky bastard, you son of a bitch, you missed the 4. I was that's those matches.
You had a profound respect for Buddy's game.
I had a respect for all those guys. I didn't like it, but I performed very good in the finals. My game would elevate to a level that was even I didn't believe. My adrenaline, everybody thought I was doing drugs or all this other stuff. My adrenaline in the finals, that's when I relaxed because I knew I had first or second place. The biggest part of playing pool is winning in the beginning to get your money back because you're putting up, first place 10,000. I got 2,000 invested. If you're a businessman, you'd look, this doesn't make sense. 128 guys, I'm putting up 2,000. I'm getting like 4 to 1 on the money. 5-1.
Now, when you're winning a big tournament like a world title or you're winning the U.S. Open, how many matches does a guy have to go through over the course of how many days to get into that final?
On the winner's side, it's 7. Usually at 128 players, so you got 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1, 7 matches. The loser's side can be much more, which I've always said pool they can't do it. See, in any other sport, it's single elimination. The problem is that guys make all their arrangements for 7 days, the whole tournament, except Dave Bowman. That's a guy I used to room with. He'd make his plane to leave on Friday. I go, what? He goes, why would you do that? He goes, well, if I make it to the weekend at the end, then I'll change my flight.
Yeah.
He was smart.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, what was so on the loser's side, however, which I also have that record, 14 in a row, in that tournament, I beat Varner in the finals on ESPN.
Wait, what record do you have?
14 in a row on the loser's side. It was a 400-man tournament. Perica beat me the third round. He missed the 8. 8-8 going to 9. It jarred and went in the other pocket, and they made the 8-9. And I wound up playing him at the very end of the tournament. I won 14 in a row to win that tournament on the loser side. That's a record, I'm pretty sure.
That's incredible, Mike.
Yeah. I was flying around the table. I played, that Gary Nolan. Remember him, the bushwhacker?
The bushwhacker, yeah.
So about 3 in the morning, we're playing. This is the day of the finals. Starts at like 11 in the morning on TV. 3 in the morning, I played bushwhacker, race to 9. You ready for this? He wins the lag. He breaks. Cue ball goes off the table. Last time he shot.
That was
9 and out.
Over.
It was over. He broke, went off the table, 9 and out. I mean, I was flying around. Well, you get numb on the loser side. There's no nerves. So playing in a tournament, guys say they're good gamblers. Yeah, good gamblers. You lose the first match. Say I'm playing you for $5,000. You beat me. Oh, let's play another one. You beat me. Let's double up, play another one. In a tournament, you got one chance. So you had way more pressure in a tournament than playing for money.
So needless to say, you had no quit in you.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that if I was gambling with a guy, if I had $100,000 in my pocket, we're playing $5,000 a set, let's play. As opposed to let's start out early in the morning with your nerves, one set for $100,000.
Yeah,
that's a totally different animal.
Yeah,
What
about mindset as far as in the matches? What would you say to somebody right now that wants to be a professional pool player, or maybe somebody is progressing in their game? As far as from a champion's perspective, you're in the middle of your matches. What's your mindset like? And then also, what was your interaction with the crowd or the other people during the tournament? In other words, did you leave, go to your room? You had to be laser beam focused, obviously.
You mean what? What do you mean?
During the tournament, during the event.
During the tournament.
Yep.
You mean, no, I would come in with spectators I would watch matches when there was a good match, Reyes playing Earl or, whatever. I would pop in, but normally I didn't. Normally I'd play my match and I was gone. I liked having the big dinner. So if I played at 7 at night, I'd have go out and have a big dinner, a couple drinks, come in, maybe look in the tournament room if they're still playing, and go to bed. I didn't really do much. It's a lot of wasted time, because I always played in the evening. I was a big draw unless I was on the loser side. Then on the loser side, you got to play during the day. But normally on the winner's side, you always play 7, 9, or 11. If I played at 7, I'd have a big dinner after. If I played at 9, I'd have a big dinner at like 5:36. I played good on a full stomach.
A lot of guys are the opposite. They won't eat, right? Because they get nervous. They're afraid they're going to upset their stomach.
I needed a full stomach because my energy goes so fast. If I felt like hungry or a little weak because I need food, I didn't play. I mean, it's not that I didn't play good. I'm just saying that I had a big, dinner before.
Now, the only thing I have to ask you is, on record, you have 3 U.S. Open 9-ball titles, but in actuality,
5.
You've won 5 U.S. Opens.
Well,
why is that?
Again, that's that. And I won 1 U.S. Open straight pool. Okay, I only played in it twice. In those days, you had to qualify. You used to have the World Straight Pool or the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Miserak's claim to fame was winning 4 U.S. Opens in a row, but as the years went on, they didn't have the U.S. Open that much. So I'll go real quick to this. In 92, right when I was getting ready to retire, the only title I did not win was the U.S. Open straight pool. And sure enough, I played Dallas West in the finals to win. I only played in it twice, in the 70s, and then they didn't have it. But you were saying say that again.
What I mean is, on record, okay, with all your other tournaments,
with the US Open,
you got 3 U.S. Open 9 balls.
Yeah.
But you and I, when we were talking, you said in actuality, because
5.
I think your first win was in 1976.
4.
No, but I mean on record.
On that one, yeah.
76. But what happened in 74, 75?
Here's what happened. I got in a big argument with Barry Berman. So here's what happened. He had the U.S. Classic, they called it, which was the U.S. Open. But it was called the U.S. Classic. I won it in 74. They had the U.S. Classic, the U.S. Open. I won it in 75. Then in 76, he moves the pool room across the street to a bigger location. Then he says, this tournament is now going to be the U.S. Open. So he just says that, okay? So then I won it. I won 74, the Classic, 75, the Classic, 76, the U.S. Open. Then I won it 2 other years. I can't even remember, 80 or 83, whatever it is. But anyway, I said, Barry, you named it the U.S. Open in 76. What about 74 and 5?
Where's my other titles?
I guess, where'd those go? Or at least say this, 74 and 5 was the U.S. Classic going to the U.S. Open, like the whatever.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I just lose those 2 tournaments, right? So then I hear, well, this guy won 5 U.S. Opens. I go, yeah, in reality, I won 6. Okay.
All right. Thanks for clarifying that for us.
Yeah, well, but it's the truth. So, I got the U.S. Class.
Yeah.
I won it 3 years in a row, undefeated, the same tournament, the same guys, but he decides to rename it, right? So, he renamed it. I still won him.
So let me ask you this. Greatest, most memorable, monumental victory throughout your whole career in your mind, and biggest letdown.
That's the easiest. That one was my first World Straight Pool, 1979. That, because in those days the only official world championship to this day that is in the Guinness Book of Records, if you look at world champion pool players, the only thing in there is straight pool. So that's the only recognized, really true world type, not the one that, what's his name, Charlie Williams. That's ridiculous. I'm talking about tournaments we used to play in New York City, in the Roosevelt Ballroom, 1,000 people, the balcony, the tuxedo. It was a huge, huge event. But today they're not like that.
So
it's kind of like the Mosconi Cup atmosphere. That's the tournaments I remember. One table in the middle of like the Mosconi Cup, same idea. That was the World Straight Pool in those days. That's how big that tournament was. So to me, when I was a kid, shooting young, I'd go, this is for the World Championship, and I'd hit a shot. So
1979.
Then I won it in 80. In 81, I finished second to Nick in 80, and I won it in 81. But I'm going to tell you a story about 79. Okay, ready? This is when I knew I had this pressure gift. When I was with Larry Hubbard on the road when I was 17, 18, 19, so I won it in 70 when I was 26, the World Straight Pool. So I was on the road with Larry Hubbard, and I idolized him. I looked up to him, idolized him. I'm 17, Larry Hubbard. I go, Larry, who are you afraid of? Who is somebody, he goes, the only guy I know I could never beat is Joe Balsis. If you'd have seen this guy play, scary how good this guy played straight pool, right? Sure enough, when I play this is like in 74, 5, 3, 2, like that, he tells me Joe Balsis. Who do I play in the finals in 79? Joe Balsis.
Oh, wow. That was full circle for you with your mentor, right?
I was so afraid to miss, I played perfect.
Wow. So afraid to miss.
I was so afraid to miss, I played perfect.
Wow.
That's how afraid I was of missing playing this guy.
Now, is there any old film of that match?
Nope.
No?
That's too bad.
Wow.
Well, the funny thing is, here's the thing. In those days, you had 128 players, 64 in one division and 64 in the other. The winners of each division, double elimination, get out to the end. The winner of each division would play the next day, one match in the finals. Well, in 79, when I played Balsis, I was on the winner's side. Balsis was on the loser's side. His last 5 matches, he ran over 100 on the loser's side to win that event. And in those days, you had to beat the winner twice. Okay. If they'd have finished the straight pool tournament that night, he would have beat me. He was just flying around the table like I did with the other match. The next year, I played Varner. I was on the loser's side. Mizrek needed 11. I ran 139 and out. I beat Rempe twice with 150 and out, one match. And he ran over 100. The first match, he ran over 100. I beat him that game. And the other match, I ran 150 and out, and I ran 139 and out on Mizrek. The match before that, when he needed 11, the next day when I played Nick, I was helpless. I shot myself. Same thing, Balsis happened the year before. If they'd have finished the tournament that night, Varner couldn't have won if I'd have given him 100 points. You know what I mean? But that's just the way it is. So I won it in 79. 80, I lost to Nick. Then I played Nick again, 81. Same thing. Nick was shot out. I could see in his face when I went up to him. I knew right away looking at him. He just, you're drained. It's a total drain, you know?
So you guys, needless to say, you have a lifelong friendship. You guys are...
Yeah. Me and him used to take a piece of each other, like 10%. And if we played at the end, we'd negotiate it because the money, it's like, 10,000 first, 6,000 second.
Yeah.
Why am I going to gamble a race to 11, even though I knew I was going to win, which I did 9 out of 10 times, if not more? Why gamble $4,000 on one race to 11?
Yeah.
So we would go 9 and 7. The winner would get 9, and the loser would get 7 instead of 10 and 6. Even though I knew I was going to win, I would say, hey, we do that. So and now if we were playing for, in golf, 2 million first, 1 million two second, you're on your own. Yeah. See you later, right? But it's not golf.
I like what you said earlier when we were on the table, and you'd mentioned that in pool, you're dealing with multiple balls, but in golf, you're dealing with the one ball, right? And then how did you explain that?
Or tennis, And pool is the only sport, if you think about it. In every other sport, you have a club or a racket and one ball. Mm-hmm. Tennis, you have a club, you hit a ball. Golf, you have a club, you hit a ball. That other game, what do you call that game? The hockey?
The badminton? No.
No. What's that game you twirl? It's got like a pouch and you throw the ball.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I've never played it before.
I'm just using it as an example. So you got a club and a ball, okay? Mm-hmm. But in pool, you have a club and 2 balls.
Yeah.
So that's the problem is you have to hit one ball into another ball into a pocket.
Yeah.
If you only had to hit one ball in the pocket, no one would miss.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. That's why pool is a unique. It's a shame because pool is a great game. You can play it at any age. You can be in any physical shape. It doesn't matter what the weather is. Right. It's very challenging. That's what I like about pool. Like I was a pretty good bowler. But it's the same setup every time. See, pool, everything's different. It's similar, but you never get the same thing. You have to use your knowledge, and it's challenging. Let's put it that way. So you can't get bored playing pool.
Okay, so for somebody that's been so interwoven with pool, past, present, and future, right? Let's call it what it is. How do you feel about what you've learned about pool players since you've been around them? Because obviously, in my humble opinion, there's a level of genius, of course, at your level. There's an artist, right? There's
it's all that. I mean, pool. It's like any sport, Pool. You got your genius abilities, I guess, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's like that in any sport. You have look at the guy that plays golf. What's his name? DeChambeau. Now, I don't watch golf anymore. I watch tennis. I love tennis. So DeChambeau is one of these technical, he has to swing a perfect thing and the this and the that, where you take another guy like Fuzzy Zeller, it just has the raw talent. He just swings it and hits it.
Yeah.
So, DeChambeau, I've heard he's like crazy.
Yeah.
With all this, you got to pull it back 2 inches. Then when you hit it like this, and your arm has to be exactly 87.5 degrees.
Yep.
He studies the physics and all these, I'm just saying, the guy's a phenomenal golfer. But I mean, then you have you're like Tiger Woods. I've been 2 feet from Tiger Woods. He used to live around me.
He knows you?
Yeah. He knows me. He knows who I am, but he doesn't know I'm Mike Sigel, the pool player.
That's what I was going to ask you, by the way. When you're in your prime and you're involved in fishing, you're involved in golf, you're involved in all the movies, all this different stuff, you had to be pretty recognizable outside of pool, right? You're going through airports, you're going through restaurants.
Of course. In the 80s, ESPN, I was in the bathroom peeing, and some guy says, "Can I have your autograph?" But I have met, I'm going to give you an idea of some of the people I've met. First, I'm going to give you the biggest thrill of my life, the guy that I met. Okay, so we're doing the Baltimore Bullet in L.A. in MGM Studios. So we're all have a tuxedo. I had makeup on. I'm like 26, 1978. 25. Okay. So we're in the commissary eating. Okay. And who walks over? It's me, Mizrak, I think Hopkins maybe or whatever. Ernest Borgnine walks up and recognizes Mizrak from the light beer commercial. He goes, how you doing? He likes pool, this, that, the other thing. And then he invites us, all of us, to, and there's all kinds of celebrities in there, because they're all eating lunch in there, right? Now they get everything delivered on the set. But in those days, everybody went into what they call the commissary. You're liable to see, Donald Trump, anybody and their mother could be in there. Movie stars, whatever. So he says, hey, because we were on lot 78 or 9, I believe, and he was right next to us in his movie area, whatever it is. He goes, hey, you guys, want to come over or whatever, this, that. I go, so, thank you, all that. I go back to our movie. I'm off for like 3 hours. 4. He goes, Mike, we don't need you for like 4 hours. So I get outside, I go next door, and I go to where they're filming his movie. I knock on the door, the guard comes up. He goes, yeah. I says, yeah, I'm filming. I go, I'm filming next door. Ernest Borgnine said we could come over.
Yeah.
He goes, all right, hold on a minute, closes the door. But a minute later, Ernest Borgnine, hey, Mike, come on in. I come in. So they're doing an Irwin Allen production. It's ready. Paul Newman, Jacqueline Bisset, Burgess Meredith, Red Buttons, Shelley Winters, and William Holden, and Ernest Borgnine. Now, I met Newman. His son had just died of an overdose, one of Paul Newman's sons. So when I did Color of Money, I never reminded him of that because we had already met.
Horrible.
I didn't, I know. I didn't say anything, right? So anyway,
yeah.
So I'm sitting with Ernest Borgnine. I'm sitting at a table eating popcorn. It's me. Right across from me, William Holden. What a thrill that was to meet him. And then Red Buttons is sitting there, Ernest Borgnine here. So there's a scene. There was an Irwin Allen production when time ran out. Remember Poseidon Adventure, all the movie stars? So William Holden had to walk up. They had this like a volcano and real steep stairs to walk up to the top to do a scene. Pretty steep. So William Holden said, hey, Mike, you want to see this? I go, yeah. So I follow him. We walk up about 10 steps. Then there's a platform, Then he walks up. He slips. He was a drunk. I mean, you could smell it on his breath. He slips and falls right into me. My hands, I stopped him right on the ass. If I wasn't there, he would have been dead. But it's a shame. In those days, I had no camera, no footage, and never got a picture with him. I mean, that was just the biggest thrill of my life to meet William Holden.
You ever stop and look back? And I know that we were talking on the car ride up here about how you feel like there's some really good things going on in your life right now. But you ever just stop and look back and say, you know what, I've been really blessed?
Oh, yes. No,
because you have.
Yeah.
You've been so blessed in your life.
Yeah, something has happened for me in the last 6-8 months that I can't even describe.
Yeah.
I mean, this deal I'm working on, and I closed it just yesterday,
Yep.
right? And this is going to be the biggest thing Pool ever saw. I'm not saying anything else until the time's right. But things have been happening for me in the last 6-8 months that I can't describe. How things are happening for me. Even my son, he goes, boy, you're on a roll.
But you know what? You got a really, really, really good heart. And I have to tell you, compared to the image that people perceive, right, of you, and maybe it's because of the aggressive style of play, all the wins, not that anybody doesn't think you're a great guy, but, you got some haters, you got some lovers.
That's how it is, yeah.
Right.
Like
anything else. But I have to tell you, though, after being around you, number one, I can't even believe the memory that you have because
I have a photographic memory.
Yeah.
Anything that I enjoy, I can remember every golf shot I ever hit, every fish I ever caught.
Right.
And every pool setup that means something to me. Not everyone.
Right.
Some guy. But any situation or something happened or whatever, I can remember. It's like a photograph, whatever. It's not a photographic. It's identical, I believe.
Right. What I wanted to say, though, is it seems like everything that you've gotten involved in or everything that you've been a part of, there's been a blessing on it and it's prospered. Okay. So tell us how the modern day jump cue came about. What's the real deal of how people started using or break cues. Let's put it that way.
Break cues.
Cue.
Oh, yeah.
I meant to say the break cue, right? So I never knew until you told me what you told me. So now that we're
so I was there's a lot of things in pool that people like. Let's go to the kick game.
okay.
So when we first started playing, real quick, then I'll go back to this. So today, when you play 9-ball, they have push out after the break. Everything else is kicking. I developed the kick safe because when we played, it was all push out. So when we started playing kick at the ball, everybody would, if they were stuck, they would just kick real hard and hope something goes in. So I started fooling around with it. I go, if I hit the rail, hit the ball, maybe it goes over here and the ball hides or something like that. I developed all that. The stuff that people take for granted, balls will off the rail, hit it with a
Now I got to interject one thing though. There is maybe a misconception, according to you out there, that when the Filipino invasion came over, that's a whole nother subject. But a lot of people believe that Efron's the one that introduced
No, here's
the
what
kick safe.
happened. No. Here's what happened. Reyes took it to another level.
Okay.
And even I learned. But I'm going back. I'm going back in the 70s now. Okay. So in the United States, I don't know what's going on in the Philippines, but in the United States, when we started doing the kicking thing, I remember playing Ray Martin. I kicked the ball, snooker, safed them, and he looked at me and goes, "Did you try and do that?" I go, "Yeah." Because no one did that. The Philippine players, now whether they got the influence from the United States, that I don't know. But when he came over, he did other kicking that even I learned some stuff. I see the Z shot and all these different, it's like 1,000,000 to 1. Let's be realistic.
Now,
I asked Reyes myself.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times now on the internet, they set him up. So he'll hit a shot because he's got a group of 8 or 10 guys through Pool Yacht that promote him on the internet 24/7. So now they just set up kicking situations, hit it 50 times, it goes in, and that's the one they use and put it on the internet. And he's got the guy is a phenomenal player, don't get me wrong. But the reality is, in the United States, he has not won that many tournaments. I played with him in the 80s. He came in at 81 at Reds, and he's played all my career. The people that won 90% of the tournaments in the 80s through the early 90s was Earl Strickland, Buddy Hall, Nick Varner, Mike Sigel, and all the other guys, Bustamante and Ralph Souquet and all these other guys, Americans, this and that. And Reyes won some tournaments. His biggest claim to fame is Louisville in the one pocket. That was in the 2000s. I was gone already. But most of the 9-ball tournaments, if you look at the record, were all won by one of them 4 guys. I'm not saying the guy's not a phenomenal player. I look up to Reyes. He's a great player. He's got phenomenal ability. But he didn't win that many tournaments. I would guess he didn't win 30 in the United States.
Do you remember the first time you seen him hit some balls?
I played him in 81. He caught me off guard, beat me out of 10,000. I walk into the pool room at Reds. Buddy beat him out of 20,000 or something. Okay, so Buddy all of a sudden was like a god to Efron. He couldn't beat me, Earl, Varner, or Buddy at the end, okay? But listen to what happened. His final match was a little weak. He was in the U.S. Open finals 4 years in a row, but won it once. And the guy that, well, I'm not going to get into that story with this other guy. But so anyway, I walk in the pool room at Reds, okay? I never saw, they said, what was the name he used? Nobody.
Cesar Morales.
Nobody knew Efron Reyes.
This is about 81-ish?
Yeah, 81
and you're
exactly.
You're in Houston.
I was in Houston at Reds when Reyes first came here, played in the tournament. Some guy says, "Here, play this guy." I go, "I ain't even got my cue." He goes, "Go ahead, play him. I'll back you for 10,000." I grabbed the house cue. So I made a few mistakes, and he beat me. Of course, I'm playing with a house cue. I just jumped up and played him. But he had played in tournaments from 81 through my whole entire career. And I know who won all the big tournaments, and he did not do that.
Now,
he did not play good in the finals. That's the problem.
Yeah. Did you guys hear, like I said, you guys, the pro pool players in the States, because I know I've heard different things about how, people went overseas and there were talks of, these great players,
I went overseas. Well, let's go back to the jump. Yeah. Now, forget the jump break cue. Forget
No. I want to hear about that. But what I'm curious, though, is was there a talk of these people in this other country that were great players?
No,
No.
not at all. I mean, he came over here. Parikh had already been here.
Yeah, the giant killer.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So he had come over here, and the thing is, when he first came here, he had that weird stroke like Bustamante, but then he soon changed to the American style because nobody over there had beaten him. When he came over here, he started getting beat.
Efron or Parikh?
Yeah, Efron.
Okay.
And he changed his stroke.
He changed his stance too, I noticed. Everything, right.
He changed because he had too many maneuvers in there. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know if he choked, whatever the word is, but in the finals, Reyes was not the same player as he was in all the other matches.
Okay.
I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
Rempe beat him in the finals. I usually beat him in the finals. Varner beat him in the finals. He did a lot of finals, but if you look at the tournament wins, let's just look at that. Who won so many tournaments? I know how many I won. Earl won a lot of tournaments. Buddy won a lot of tournaments. Nick won a lot of tournaments. And there ain't that many tournaments, okay?
Right, exactly.
I mean, I'm not talking about some pool room where you get a bunch of guys. I'm talking the 10,000. The only tournaments I ever played in usually were 10,000 first place or bigger. I didn't play in, Capone's, some tournament, even though a lot of good players played in it. Those are not, in my opinion, tournaments.
You're talking about the Sands Regency, the U.S. Open.
Yeah, the U.S.
right.
Open, the World Tournament.
Yep.
When they had every Rack 'em Up Classic, that was a big tournament. When they, all the ESPN events, all these 10,000 first prize or bigger, those were tournaments. Okay, the other ones, it's like today, like the International Open. That's a big tournament. Louisville. I've never even been there.
Derby City Classic.
Derby City. That's like considered a real big tournament. All the players. I'm only looking at tournaments where all the players would play to a degree.
Okay.
Those are the big tournaments.
Bottom line is
those are like pro events.
Yeah. Bottom line is people lie, people talk, but records don't lie. It is what it is when it comes to the wins.
I know how many tournaments I won. It was on the front cover of the Billiard Digest. Sigel wins his 100th tournament.
Yeah.
And I know no other pool player of tournaments like that won 100 tournaments. Not even close. I mean, Earl might be close, but don't forget, Earl's only won 9-ball tournaments, okay? He's never won a world straight pool. He's never won, I don't know if he's won 8. They didn't have a lot of 8-ball tournaments. But those are one pocket. I won a bunch of big one pocket tournaments. Not a bunch. I only played in a handful. I don't like one pocket, but I play it.
So back to what I was asking earlier. Back in the day, you guys were breaking with your playing cue.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all the players, right?
Yeah. So the funny story is, I'm breaking with my playing cue. Now, you got to think how hard the tip is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I'm spinning the ball and all this, right? So anyway, I broke, and then one day I rolled my cue, and it looked like a banana. So I re-straightened it out, and I'm playing with it, breaking with it. So I go into Danny Jane's Joss Cues. I go into a shop one day. I go, Danny, I need another cue. He's thinking like, I got to give you another cue,
Yeah.
like, what are you going to sell it or, something like that. I go, no, I go, Danny, I want another cue to break with. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, I want one cue to break with and another cue to play with. He goes, can you do that? Can you play with 2 cues? I mean, nobody even knew. So he makes me another cue, and now watch this. The cases in those days were the little tubes, 1 butt, 1 shaft, 1 butt, 2 shafts. That's it. So I go to the case, call a case company. I go, look, I need a case that can hold 2 butts and 4 shafts. He goes, what do you need that for? I go, I want 2 cues. Well, we don't make that. I mean, nobody made that. All of a sudden, so I opened up the break cue and the cases. That all came from me. And all of a sudden now guys got 90 cues, 80 shafts, the thing for the handle and the glove area. I mean, right?
Now, do you hold the same position, let's say, as what Earl did when it came to the jump cues when they started jumping?
Of course. To me, it's ridiculous. If you can jump with your own cue, and only a few people, I can't do it, only a few people can. The jump cue, in my opinion, is ruin pool. Because if you play a perfect safety with 4 balls on the table, hit a ball, you leave a shot and the cue ball goes 3 rails around the table and goes behind the only ball that can go behind. So only a top player can execute a shot like that. And then the guy comes out with the jump cue. So to me, either play better position or kick at it. You know what I mean? I think, there's no defense with a jump cue. I've seen people jump the ball 1/4 inch away from the ball.
How about jumping multiple balls?
Yeah, all that. Now I can jump with my own cue if it's set up right.